EV, AV, and mobility sectors. What Lei and I discussed today is based on our opinions and should not be taken as investment advice. For those that are new to the show, welcome. And to our loyal listeners and viewers, welcome back. We ask that you smash those subscribe and like buttons so you don't miss anything from us in the future. I'm confident that Lei and I are two of the most important and knowledgeable people. Well, maybe not important, but knowledgeable people in the world doing this. So help us get the word out to other enthusiasts. My name is Tu Lee. I'm the managing director at Sino Auto Insights, a global management consultancy that helps organizations bring innovative and tech-focused products and services to the transportation and mobility sectors. I write a free weekly newsletter that we pull many of our discussion topics from. You can sign up for it at sinoautoinsights.substack.com, which of course I encourage you all to do. Lei, still in Beijing, Lei, can you please introduce yourself?
Good morning to you. Good evening from Beijing. As your co-host Lei Xing, former chief editor of China Auto Review, number 209. Just watched the new ES6 and EC6 launch. um, it's here, and then the next will be the ET5 and the 5T coming next week. You want to talk a little bit about that? They pack more punch into it. The prices staying the same. Uh, I think a few things that they added is obviously that chip, which we talked about last episode, that was
Shenqing.
on the ET9, Shenji NX9D31. They added that. They have the new Cedar OS. They have this new Nomi. They brought in the New World model, some of the new capabilities that they'll push out toward the end of June. Um, they finally have a stock lever gear shifter instead of a what you call it on the center console
Hmm.
shifter to make room for so you can charge two phones in the center console.
Hmm.
And now they have the horizontal screen. Um, so it's an upgrade. Prices are staying the same. I was looking at the app and some of the new features, Nomi Mate 3.0, you have to pay extra. Um,
Hmm.
the digital rear view mirrors you have to pay extra. They did include the vehicle to load function for free. But it's tough, right? Because so the 338K for the ES6 and the 358K before battery as a service for the EC6. Now remember the L90 is preparing for launch in Q3, and that model is probably it should be below 300,000 in the positioning. But right, it's the rhythm, right? It's the rhythm of these products, and you know, um,
Well, this goes back to Neo saying that they're going to be launching 8 products in 2025.
we have
Many of
two
them
and two
are
coming.
yeah, many of them are refreshes, not new products, but new-ish. And so I think the L90 is pretty much one of the only few new products from a newish brand. Also, I think what struck me, Lei, is that he's in full racing suit with a helmet, demonstrating some of the operating system upgrades to avoidance for vehicle intelligent driving avoidance. I think they punctured 2 tires
Yeah,
in one of the tests. Were you watching some of that stuff? Can you tell us a little bit
yeah.
about
So
that?
so basically, it did the same thing as the ET9. This is one of the new features that was on the ET9. They brought it to the ES6 and the EC6. Basically, just a high speed tire puncture um, feature that will automatically stabilize your vehicle. There's a tire monitoring system that can react in zero point 0.3 seconds. And then to help, I mean, it's part of their Sky OS ride system. And just, I mean, he's just trying to show as
Sky
a brand,
OS that incorporates the clear motion
clear
leveling.
motion, clear by wire, the chassis, smart chassis. Yeah, I mean, he was just saying, this is the technology that we're trying to put on these new vehicles for the new brand. Um, and he's a workaholic, right? He's live
Yeah.
streaming. He's doing these stunts, uh, trying very hard.
So here's it must be the most frustrating thing because Lee Bin, I know he believes in Neo, the brand. I know he has, I know he knows that there are some management and operational challenges that they still need to work out, some sales challenges that they need to work out. But he goes through these things and he's so hardworking, so diligent with regards to promoting these new features and these new technologies. And then a week later, BYD is like, hold my beer. And then gives all this stuff for free. So it must be the first of all, it's an example of the hyper competition that's happening in China. Okay. That has nothing to do with Neo. It has everything to do with all of these brands trying to emerge from the pack. Number one. Number two, trying to steal hundreds of units of sales from each other brand every week. And with BYD shipping 400,000 units a month, that's got to be one of the most frustrating things to these CEOs who are just trying to squeeze margin in order to push new products and new features out. And then again, BYD's holding my beer. So uh, I think the biggest trend, and let me finish my thought, Lay, real quick. I think the biggest thing is that unfortunately, Americans don't benefit, but Chinese consumers benefit from this because they get, and we have to think of ABB because normally these types of features would come on a $90,000, $120,000 Halo sedan, Halo SUV, and then 3, 4, 5 years later trickle down once they've really squeezed out all the profit they can from these high-end features. But now these high-end features are in vehicles in China that are less than 50,000 US dollars, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah, so I think it's very difficult for a brand like a Neo to uphold their premiumness in this environment. I think the narrative right now, if we look at the news that has happened the last couple of days, is really reorganization. I'm talking about Geely, right? I'm talking about cost efficiency. Neo did their event without inviting media. It did the event at the F2 Neo House, and it's interesting that Neo did. Li Bin wasn't even talking. It was Li Tianshu, Ted Li. He was talking most of the time, and the crowd that was invited was either the employees or the owners. There's no media. That's part of the cost cutting that Neo has done with this launch and also with the Firefly, right? They did the launch inside a Neo house, and then XPeng, as right last couple of days, we've all seen the new P7 has been gone viral a little bit with the kind of I'd say a quite I'd say it was probably provocative design, right? Because it kind of looks different than what we have currently on the market. It was pushing the envelope, right? The way to
So
describe
it
it.
reminds me of a little bit of a Dodge Charger, the EV here, that's struggling. You know, the silhouette and kind of the design. I like it a lot. I think the P7
I do
and the
too.
P7 Plus didn't go far enough. The original P7 was kind of nice-ish, but the so we know a lot of the comms people at XPeng. They're
Sure.
working overtime because He Xiaopeng
Sure.
and Brian Gu, they're all over social. They're all over LinkedIn. So good for them. Great
Well,
English
LinkedIn just
language.
posted on X and LinkedIn. I mean, the
Hmm.
team posted, but of the tire puncture video. So I mean, yeah,
So we're seeing that there's this copycatting and really, really there is no breathing room because XPeng
no,
launched this P7 and then within 48 hours, less than 48 hours, right? The Neo. So they had to have known that Neo was going to do this event, and then XPeng decided we're going to steal some thunder and launch 4 pictures of the P7. And so it's supposed to be out in July this year. So the other important thing about the Neos and the Xpengs versus the Tesla is that while Elon gets on earnings calls and says, "Oh, we're going to launch this in June of this year, launch this in 2 years," these things never materialize. At least not on the time frame that Elon originally articulates. Whereas in China, you get one chance, and if you're not announcing on Sunday, selling on Monday, that window of opportunity closes really quickly, and people will move on.
these marketing, branding, pushing out these content is meticulously planned. Uh, I mean, there's a rhythm, right? And then also this week we had the launch of, I think you mentioned about it, the new C10, the 2026 C10, right? 120, 130,000 RMB with LiDAR, um, 800 volt, right? Architecture. I mean, how does
Yes,
Firefly compete with that? Uh,
that's
if I can get a,
outside of the
that's
ET9
the,
lay. I think the M9, but that's been out a while. Outside of the ET9 being kind of the premium, the Halo premium offering, the most interesting segments are the mass market segments, the small medium sized sedan, P7 being that thing. The P7, I don't think it's going to be more than 300,000 RMB, so that's about $41,000 in today's FX rate. And then to your point, C10, the L90, and a bunch of other cars. The U7 is likely going to come around 35,000 US dollars as well. So that seems to be the most exciting segment in the next 6 to 8 months for me.
and speaking of U7, you're referring to the Xiaomi U7, correct?
Yes.
And speaking
Is there
of,
another U7?
right? No, I was, I was thinking of the Yangwang U7.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Right
There's
on.
too many
Sure.
models. So that's why
Well,
we had to say one
let's just
U7.
call the Xiaomi Yuqi.
Yuqi, yeah, Yuqi, yeah.
Yuqi.
Well, Yangwang Yuqi is the same, right? So, but
Yeah. Well,
speaking
let's
of Xiaomi,
differentiate.
yeah.
Which one do you want to call the U7? Which one do you want to call the Yuqi? So we know. Let's call the
Well,
Xiaomi
Yuqi is the
U7.
Xiaomi U. Okay, Xiaomi U7. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Xiaomi is right now. It was listed as part of the topic for today's show. I think Xiaomi right now is in a dark place. Um,
They've
have
had
you
3
seen the?
weeks of sales reduction, right? Um,
Yeah.
but go ahead. You detail this dark place and how they came about because some
Uh,
people are
have
probably
you
viewing
seen
for
the
the first
latest
time.
video of Lei Jun speaking internally at an event? Have you seen that video?
I have not.
That's been on social. So he was holding up a piece of paper and reading every word from that script. It's very
So this is a
jarring. And
leaked
he was,
internal video. Leaked internal video.
well, I wouldn't say it's leaked. It could be planned.
Planted.
Yeah, planted. So I mean, he was holding the paper in front of him and reading it off as he spoke. I mean, like we've never seen that before, right? I mean, he's always loose and trying to be fun and humorous. And he said something about that we're 15 years old and we must hold ourselves to higher expectations and standards and responsibilities. Um, and
He's saying the company's 15, not the car, not
yeah,
the
the
car
company,
division.
yeah, right, the company. And the fallout has been from first of all the accident, and then this U7 Ultra on the hood. They had this feature, right, where there was this hole, two holes that were supposed to give better aerodynamics,
It's
and
fake.
there was some talk about them, being there for nothing. That it didn't have that capability. So there was some backlash, and I think several owners, dozens of owners, are trying to return the car.
Which is
So
weird, Lay, because
because
ABB.
for me as an
Go
owner,
ahead.
that means
Okay, you just froze, bud. Let me see here. Lay, you okay? We'll be right back, everyone. Okay, you're good.
I just changed the Wi-Fi. I noticed I'm using the wrong Wi-Fi. It should be good now.
Okay.
Sorry
Um,
about that.
so you
Yeah,
said
so we're
that
talking
they
about
have these
Xiaomi.
fake accessories on the hood of the Su7 Ultra,
Well, let's
and
not call it fake. Let's call it something that was communicated to the users, but it looks like there's videos online that purportedly showing the intended feature or the use of that the hood um, did not work,
hmm.
and that caused some backlash. So that's basically what has happened,
So,
since
but
the
but here's
accident
the here
itself, right? Yeah,
here's the thing, and this is where, to your point, when it rains, it pours, because people are just now. First of all, social media picks up trends and then amplifies it. That's just what social media algorithms do.
yeah,
Number one. Number two, yes, there seems to be this buildup of backlash to the brand, because up until this accident, no one was willing to say a bad thing about the Xiaomi Su7, at least in the social media stuff that I was seeing. Now it just seems like people are piling on. The one thing about these hood accessories is that that's a tale as old as time. It's not unique to Xiaomi, and we won't call them fake. But if you look at ABB, we look at sports cars. They'll have dual tailpipes in the rear, and then if you look at the actual muffler, it will only be one single tailpipe or a double tailpipe, and they'll have fake
yeah.
dual tailpipes.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I see that as kind of similar, but so this is not unique to Xiaomi or the Su7. It's kind of an automotive thing where they just try to fake you out to imply that the vehicle's tougher, the vehicle's more luxurious, the vehicle's more premium, and add this to the five or six things that have popped up, seven, eight, nine things that have popped up to make the Su7 a bit more vulnerable. And this can't make Lei Jun feel well about the U7 and the rollout later this year. So, one thing that is a bit unique about the current Su7 uh, situation is that normally social media something bad will last a handful of days at the most, and then people will move on. But this has really started to gain a lot of traction and sustained itself in the social media. But why do you think that is, Lei?
It's simply because it's Xiaomi. Xiaomi has a bigger ring around this name than anybody else because of the way that they've entered the EV, um, the way that Lei Jun has been out there.
How much impact they've made in such small
Yeah,
amount of time?
saying that I'm gonna dedicate this is the last thing I'm gonna do, dedicating my life to EVs and trying to become the world top five. You planted these flags, and now you have to live up to it, right? And and now you have this kind of backlash that you have to kind of massage a little bit. Take some time, and we'll see how the sales go. It's just 4 weeks. I don't want to put any conclusion to that, but um, it's not helping. And I think that's a precarious thing for any and every one of the brands that are competing.
Right.
You
And
know,
even though the market is 25, 26 million units in China, with 50% of those being NEVs, these companies are treating the market like zero sum.
that
Okay. Because the market is growing, so everybody can still grow. But what we're seeing is within certain segments and against certain brands, this zero sum mentality. If Xiaomi gets sales, they're taking it away from me, as opposed to everybody can grow. And that's a mature market characteristic versus a emerging market or a growth market characteristic, which is very unique to China. So
and also the competition is not only the price war itself; it's the war of words.
you got locked up again.
Oh, locked up again.
No, you're good now. You're
You
good
are.
now.
Yeah. Of Li Bin on a panel with Mercedes, Porsche, Audi, and the ABB executive. He was saying, at least we did not copy you guys. That's a
Hmm.
direct, well, that's an indirect swipe by Xiaomi, I think. Because he said, our ET9 is one of the most original designs
Yeah.
in the EV market, right? Uh, so these things happen, right? These things, indirectly or not, you take you put some salt on the wound. But
I'm gonna be.
maybe
I'm
subconsciously, not directly.
I'm gonna throw this parallel between Li Bin, Lei Jun, and our situation, Lei. You've been in the Chinese automotive sector since day one, effectively. And I'd like to say I was one of the earliest in kind of the China EV stuff. And so Li Bin, he's been doing the Neo thing since 2014. Okay. And so he's been toiling away for over 10 years. And then Lei Jun comes in 3 years later, hits a home run with the Su 7. And so you and I, we get upset. We have direct messages with other people because there are people riding our coattails on talking about, oh, I knew about Chinese EVs, blah, 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 but we didn't see them in Shanghai. There's like two or three particular people that you and I are talking about. And so I understand Li Bin's frustration and why he might
I think he was.
poke
Maybe he
a little
was,
bit.
a little bit frustrated. That's why those words came out. I mean, that
Because Li Bin, this is where I have respect for him because his products are really good. The ET9 is
he's really
great.
trying. He's the hardest trying CEO in the smart EV space,
I
and
would not go ahead.
and their tech, right? They try to have these original tech, whether it's Nomi, whether it's the Shenji chip, whether it's others,
Clear motion.
power swap. right? Itself, Clear Motion. Well, I mean, these are third-party suppliers, but still, right? He's trying to show that we're trying to put the latest and the greatest, and that nobody else has on our
And Neo's
vehicles.
the OG when it comes to
And
customer engagement in
that
the EV space.
unfortunately has not turned into the expected volumes and profitability. I think that's what he's kind of um,
Oh, so he's venting for sure. He's
yeah,
projecting his frustration a little bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So
all the ABB heads can do is kind of like, we don't want to get into this mess because number one, they're not Chinese, okay? And if Chinese Social saw or that the German executives were bullying some of the Chinese EV executives, oh man, I don't think they'd be very forgiving. Um, but
yeah,
the last thing I'll say is that I kind of understand Lee Bin because I think we're doing quality work. I think he has quality vehicles, and then these guys come swoop in, try to take credit, try to take some of the shine away from the people who've been toiling away, really, really on the early days. And so I get it, but Neo, I you and I have said this for 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years, where it's like, I don't know, because the products seem to be okay. You know, the swapping is very
but
unique,
we
but they
just had
just
the
can't put it all
experience.
together. They can't put it all
Yeah,
together.
we just had the
Oh,
experience. Whether it was the drive, whether it was the comfort, the power swap, Nomi. Those are great products and tech.
I was talking to somebody offline this week because I've been back a week and a day, and I finally
So
feel
yeah,
like I'm a little
hopefully
bit
you're no
normal.
longer jet lagged.
Well, yeah. So yes, last night was the first night I actually fell asleep on the couch at like 9 o'clock, and then I woke up at 5, so I feel kind of normal. Uh, but I was
I'm gonna
talking
go
to
through that.
somebody. Yeah, I don't I don't know what strategy to give you because bodies are different. But
Everybody
I was
has
t-
their own strategy. It's like the
I
smart
was
EV, right?
talking to somebody offline, a couple people offline, because they were curious. Hey, how was your experience? How was your trip? And so I can't think of one thing of the experience we had on the ET5, driving the Neo, using the swap station. I can't think of one thing that I was like, man, that was terrible. That just was not great. And so that's when I have to find things as opposed to like all of a sudden it just comes up naturally because it was something I was thinking about. That's the thing. Uh, The Neo products and kind of the whole business model seems to be pretty good. I just don't know why they can't sell more cars.
Yeah, it's quite holistic.
Can you think of anything that you'd be like, man, they need to fix that?
Well,
So
my butt hurt, so that was the only thing. And now
the
they have the
my
new
butt is
seating.
thicker than yours. My
They,
butt is thicker than yours. So
yeah, I'm thinner, so uh, they have this new seating seats on the new ES6 and on the EC6. I'm sure on the fives as well, and as well as a Thai massage function on the new models.
so if people
Uh,
are wondering, I use that massage function
it looks like you use it a
every
lot.
time. Every time I was driving, I used the massage function, and when it turned off, I asked it to turn back on. So I was using it all the time. So if you're wondering who uses that on long trips, to me, it's great, especially when you don't have to press a bunch of buttons. When you can just say, "Hey, know me," Kayamwa, right? Literally turn on massage.
But
So
that's not a distinctive function to Neo.
no, that's a
At that
qualifier now
price
because
point,
every car.
right? So that's the hard part.
So I'm in the Tong L 2 weeks ago, and then the Tong L had it in the back seat. I think I'm pretty sure it did. And so like people have it in the back seat now, which shouldn't be unusual in a Chinese car. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Anyways, yeah, yeah. I
I know
mean, we
you.
talked
I know
about
you did
that.
something. Go ahead.
No, we did our vent, kind of, to start off. You know.
So you did something really cool this morning. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I took a ride in the Baidu Gen 6 RT6, the bigger MPV-ish pure electric robotaxi. That was, by the way, unveiled 3 years ago. Can you believe how long that it's already been? And the biggest thing about this the robotaxi is the price. The event, one of the events, they actually showed a receipt of this car bought cost is 200,000 204,600 RMB, which is the Gen 5 is 480,000 RMB. Think about that delta from 5 to 6.
So they took out more than
Right.
100%.
Yeah. And then the odd thing is, well, they're still putting these coupons and discounts. I took a 5.5 kilometer ride, took about 15 minutes. It ended up costing 3 RMB or less than half a dollar. Very comfortable, very spacious. Also, it has the voice recognition function. You can tell it to put on a massage in the back two seats. So that was a little bit deja vu. Um, and then you can also have a one button in the back to put it in the recline mode. So I was joking with the Liu Yang and some of the other uh, Baidu people that you could literally take this out for a spin after you have lunch and have a nap in it, reclined with the massage on, and just drive around and you have a nap in it. And it only costs you 3 RMB.
So it's good that
Yeah.
you bring
But
this up, Lay,
other than
because
that, I said it was boring, which
you
means
you were in
high
Yizhuang. You
mark.
were in Yizhuang.
Yeah, in Yizhuang. The caveat was not that much traffic and it knew the area. So, but I would still put Waymo at the top, even in this one, because it was in the city. It was negotiating city traffic. So, yeah.
So let's put to bed that the West is not as surprised about Chinese electric vehicles. I think we can kind of close the door on that. Now, I want to revisit autonomous vehicles and the
Now going to
Chinese.
the topics. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the newsletter
Hmm.
headlines. I was like, don't forget China AV Inc., meaning the We
Quite
Rides,
active.
which,
Yeah.
yes, especially on social the last week or two. We Ride announcing pilot in Abu Dhabi, Pony. We Ride announcing partnerships with Uber, and um, they're going to be launching a pilot, or Baidu launching in Europe. And so remember, we have Waymo, we have Zoox, we have Neuro, but Waymo is the 800-pound gorilla in the United States, and Neuro and Zoox are just kind of cute little companies
Yeah.
that aren't making a huge
Hmm.
impact.
Hmm.
May Mobility in Michigan, of course, but Waymo is still the global leader in your opinion and in my opinion. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance. We were so focused on the EV stuff, or I was so focused in the time I was in China. But we'll be back, and I'm gonna spend a little more seat time in the robo taxis
Yeah. Got to try it out.
when I go back.
Hmm.
And I think this is again, Lay, where you and I are unique because we've spent a ton of seat time in intelligent driving systems in China, and then
It,
also the robo
yeah.
taxis. So,
No,
and it's a different experience. It's
it
not the
is.
same.
But at a certain point, it started. I say it becoming boring in a good way, meaning you've associated robotaxis with everyday life, with normality of a type of mobility experience, and there's never any anxiety anymore.
And here's what's important to remember, Lay. Even if there's limited use cases for robotaxi rollout in the United States and China, that's still a win to me. The ultimate
There,
goal is still point to point or parking space to parking space, as they say in China. Because Aurora Innovation, they launched the freight pilot where a semi truck has no driver and it's going from Dallas to Houston, about 200 miles, I think.
yeah, yeah.
So huge significance. And not a week or two after the pilot launches, Sterling Anderson, the co-founder
And then,
of Aurora, leaves to
yeah,
go to
he went
GM. We
to
can talk
GM,
about
right?
that later. We can talk about that
Sure,
later.
sure. But also, there's a similar, there's a Chinese Aurora, there's cargo bot. They are
Yep.
already running platoons in Inner Mongolia. There's this route, right? And so there's things that are happening that sometimes we just don't talk about. By the way, I don't know if you can see this. Here, it
Okay.
basically, this is the Pony app. They recently had an accident of a robotaxi.
So
And this
let's
app,
rewind that. Let's
yeah,
rewind that. So there was no one in the car. It was in Yizhuang, so it was probably
yes,
right around the area that you were at
yeah,
this morning. But my understanding is that they knew from headquarters that
oh, they
this
must
car
know.
was unstable, and so they pulled it over to the side, I think,
It
and
was
that's
kind of in
when
the median,
right.
not on the shoulder, but it was in kind of the median. So the app is showing basically temporarily not operating and in Yizhuang. So I'm not sure if that was due to that accident that maybe they're directed not suspending operations.
And that
Um,
vehicle was an Arc Fox,
it was a Lexus.
a Lexus. Okay,
They're using Lexus RX. Yeah.
okay,
So I
those
thought that
are
was interesting.
hmm.
And
So
then We Ride, they started operating these robo vans. The Farizon Auto robo vans, the kind of the
Verizon.
uh, yeah, for whatever, you know, black kind of greenish vans, but there's only a few of them, so it's difficult to hail them. But the app actually shows you can try to hail a regular robotaxi or the robovan, which I think can seat 5 people. Next time you're here, try it. You know.
I will. So that's a obviously a
There's just stuff happening, like these
Momenta
incidents. Yeah,
is has made a
yeah,
huge announcements
sure,
at the auto show. We talked about that
sure.
where
Whatever.
they're
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, what's interesting is that Toyota is a investor in Momenta, but it's also working with May Mobility. And so
And Pony.
yeah,
Hmm.
and you're seeing a lot
So
of these partnerships. Uber is really instigating a lot of these partnerships, a non-US robotaxi partnership. So good for them. But we're going to see more bifurcating. You know, we're seeing that. I want to say, was it WeRide that is going to do a Hong Kong listing? Because we didn't talk about this that much, and so let's throw a curveball and go back to this a little bit because Geely is pulling Zeekr off of the U.S. Stock market
hmm
and moving it over to Hong Kong, right?
yeah.
And so, I don't know if that's to protect for the exposure, but you're also seeing. I think it was WeRide that is looking to supplement or Hong Kong listing. No, sorry, it's Hesai. Sorry, I thought it was WeRide, but it's Hesai. So maybe that's kind of the financial world we're going to start to live in as well, where in order to mitigate some of that risk and access to capital, these Chinese companies that have listed in the United States are going to create supplemental listings in markets outside of, or capital markets outside of American ones. So
Yeah. CATL is soon will be doing the HK listing.
yes,
Also,
well, they're going to be the biggest IPO this year
and
for sure
Momenta,
in Hong Kong,
Momenta is
maybe in the world. So
yeah. Yeah, so that's the AV part of it. It's kind of interesting. But the real Baidu people told me real experience is in Wuhan because Wuhan is basically all over the city, and you're
yeah,
actually in the traffic in Wuhan, which is notoriously bad. That will be a different experience. Yeah,
I was going to go at, before we take off for these trips, I have all these ambitions to go to this city, that city, to go visit this, go try this out. And then, of course, didn't have any opportunity to go to Wuhan. So um, I'd like to try the Robotaxi in Wuhan because I know a few people who
I
have,
do
and they were
also.
really
Yeah,
impressed.
because
So,
because we have the caveat, right? In Yizhuang, I mean, there's not that much traffic.
and there's a lot more V2X in Yizhuang.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
the Baidu vehicles are communicating with the traffic lights and everything else.
yeah,
So I think there's a lot more coordination from a technology standpoint. And to your point, these cars are doing this small little loop. Yizhuang is a district in Beijing, southeast Beijing, and but
yeah.
it's not
They
big.
the ODD I think is 60 square kilometers. That might be the old number. It probably has expanded, but that's the number I knew. So 60 square kilometers. I'm not sure how much that is in miles. I don't know the conversion.
60
But
kilometers.
yeah, square
It's like
kilometers,
36 miles.
square miles.
Yeah,
It's
something like
square.
that.
Okay, all right. So I
Uh,
mean, I
ish,
don't know.
ish,
Ish,
ish.
ish. Yeah, yeah.
But the reason they have Pony and Baidu or Apollo and Yizhuang is because that's a district specifically promoting
The demo
robotaxi
area.
testing and pilots.
Yeah, pilot area.
That's where Baidu has their depot. So you and I have been there several times,
Apollo
seen
Park.
a lot of their cars parked, and then coming in and out, driverless robotaxis coming in and out of the entrance.
Mhm.
It's pretty cool to see. But again, to your point, it's not the busiest part of Beijing, and traffic is always a little bit more tame, generally speaking.
Yeah, and
So,
it's interesting. You open up the WeRide app, they do not offer discounts. So a similar ride will cost 30 RMB
hmm.
as opposed to 3 RMB. So, but I mean,
Well, the difference between a Baidu and a WeRide is that WeRide is publicly traded, so I think they have more pressure to show profitability than a Baidu does.
well, also Baidu seems to have lost that early mover advantage because now you've seen the read rides and the ponies expand, making these moves outside of China, and uh,
And let me clarify, Baidu is publicly traded, but Apollo Go has not been spun off into a
no,
separate publicly traded
right,
entity.
right, right,
And so I think that's where they have a bit more flexibility in funding from Daddy Baidu,
yeah.
as opposed to WeRide. WeRide, I looked this morning, it's around $3 billion market cap. Pony is almost double that, about $6 billion market cap. So, uh, but grand ambitions for sure. And if we get into the numbers, I think in China there's over 1,000 robotaxis on the roads now. Uh, Probably less than 2,000, but well over 1,000. Baidu
Yeah.
being the lion's share in Wuhan, in Beijing, in Shanghai, and I think in
Oh,
Shenzhen.
Baidu is in several cities now.
Right.
Probably a dozen cities now. If basically where they operate. Yeah, yeah. Even in Chongqing,
And
city like Chongqing, but special areas.
so, anything else that you wanted to talk
What was the
about?
other? I think there was a third topic that that was in your
So
poster.
we so we've what's important is that I wanted to now shift not shift the focus, but create additional focus
Shift to the
on
west,
autonomous vehicles. Oh, um,
right?
so
Shift to your neck of woods.
uh, the beginning of my piece, and this is where I don't hide my subjectiveness. Uh, GM, Ford are right in my backyard. Uh, I'm an ex GM. I'm a GM alum. I'm a Ford alum. So I have friends. You and I have good friends that work at both places in China and in the
Sure.
United States. And so, like, we want to see them do well. We want to see everybody do well. I don't think we uh, have any vendettas against any companies. At least I don't. And I don't think you do either. We're not getting paid by any of them, or I'm not getting paid, and you're not getting paid. So I think that's important
No.
to
Mm.
also note. So they hired so in totality over the last few weeks, or let's even blow this out by the last 18 months. Kurt Kelty came in. They relaunched the Mountain View or the Mountain View Technical Center, hired a bunch of people there. They announced last week a new chemistry they're working on for batteries, LMR chemistry, which stands for lithium
Manganese.
manganese rich. So they're pulling cobalt and they're pulling nickel out, meaning that the price will be cheaper, supply chains will be simpler. Manganese is very abundant as a mineral, and they're trying to equalize the range and the capability of these batteries, at least at the LFP level, while reducing a pack at the pack between 4 and 6 thousand US dollars. Okay, so they look like they're going to try to commercialize that in production vehicles by 2028 or something like that. And so LG is their partner. It's going to fall under the Ultium Cell branding, but so kudos to them. I know Ford is also working on an LMR type of cell or chemistry, and then Sterling Anderson, which I'd mentioned earlier,
Aurora.
co-founder of Aurora. He just left to become the chief product officer
GM.
at General Motors. So, what do you think of all these moves, and does it give you more hope that GM is really trying to do the work to make this pivot?
It's not the first time that GM made these moves.
See, you're the
And
cynic now.
uh, yeah, right. I mean, it just because we now have this frame of reference in the China world, in the China realm. You posted something on LinkedIn. I just replied, say, way past, right? Of why can't they use what's available now? And is it the geopoliticalness of it? Is it uh, it's just a different, totally different market environment with the regulatory environment, with Trump, with what the consumers buy in the U.S., with the type of infrastructure, right? All of these factors that makes you think that they're not that pressed, unlike let's say a Volkswagen, a Mercedes, a BMW in the Chinese market. They're pressed to compete, whereas back home, these GMs and Fords, uh,
That's my biggest fear because they have seemingly less to lose in the China
oh,
market than their German peers or European peers. And so, will they stay motivated to work as fast and as diligently as their European peers? I don't know.
At least the tariff pause that happened, was it earlier this week?
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
or 2 weeks
no,
ago, I think.
thank goodness for now that we can put this behind a little bit, and
But
everybody's like,
but here's the thing, having just spoken with a ton of people this week back here, it's not that. I mean, the tariffs are bad enough, right, Lay? But it's the uncertainty of how long they're going to be in place, whether he's going to change his mind in a
yeah,
week.
well, yeah, exactly,
That's really crippling.
yeah, yeah.
Because if I tell you, Lay, you can't use the internet, then you'll be upset, but you'll find a way around. But if I tell you you can't use the internet, oh, Lay, and then you start planning for not being able to use the internet, and I say, oh, Lay, it's okay, you can use the internet now. A week later,
Speaking of the internet, I was just switching to a new one that China Mobile offers, that if you pay 30 RMB or more, you get a huge bump on the speed. And
oh, nice.
guess what the hardware they're using for the routers.
Huawei.
Bingo. So I just switched to this new Wi-Fi. So I think it's better than earlier. And now
That
it's
doesn't
showing
surprise. That's not
72%
surprising.
uploaded, which is great.
Oh,
Last
nice.
time
Because
we got
less
out, it was like 30, yeah,
30
30%.
something, right? Yeah. So,
So it's not
uh,
much, right? 30. I have to, commit for like 3 years, but 30 renminbi a month is nothing. I mean, so,
oh my goodness. So, anyways, I don't really have anything else this week. Do we want to talk about anything? So I had an opportunity to sit down with our good friends Paul Leinert, Joe White,
yeah, I saw
and
that.
Nori this week. If for those that don't know, this more than I do. I just know the journalists recently, but over the course of the 20 years, maybe you can talk about a
I've
few
met
more journalists that.
Yeah, I mean, I've met them over the years on various occasions. I mean, Nori was in China for a
Yes,
long time.
that's how I met him. But so for those folks, Joe White is retired. Paul Leinert is retired. They're both their last jobs were at Reuters. Joe
Reuters.
White is the Pulitzer Prize winning journalist in the automotive space. I think he was the Detroit bureau chief for Detroit for a while for Wall Street Journal. Paul Leinert is also legendary in automotive journalism. Nori is
Yeah,
still grinding away in Austin, Texas. He moved, as you had said, from China, Beijing, to Austin about 2.5 years ago. He is almost like solely focused on more Reuters long reads.
yeah,
But
in depth. Hmm.
for as much knowledge as they have, I totally respect their curiosity still. And why I get along with them is because there was no pretense. It was like, oh man, you're a nerd, and
We're all nerds.
I didn't need to prove anything to them. I have this unique view because of my experiences, and so there was always on day one a kind of mutual respect, and so that's why, um, and I'm friends with them personally, and so I got to talk with them, trading some rumors, downloaded with them a little bit about my thoughts on Shanghai and some of the things that
Yeah,
I'd heard,
see,
but I don't want to write about
yeah,
because they're more rumors than anything. But yeah, so that was cool seeing them. Nori was up in Michigan to go do some site visits, but also like went to see the dentist or something like that. But now, who else? Who else that you've worked with or know that people should read or keep an eye on if there's articles from them? Because I know, Mike Elias just moved from Wall Street Journal. to Reuters in Detroit.
Oh,
So
okay.
the Reuters team is and
Pretty
was pretty
strong.
strong.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we know the people down here that we did a recording with, right? Ed and
yes,
those
that's
guys.
in process, by the way, Lay. So
I didn't mean to,
no,
as a
it's in process. It's out of my hands now, which means that I should get it within the next couple of days. And
hope the quality is okay. I mean,
so I'm hoping. So the audio quality is pretty good. The video quality was a little bit weird, um, but I'm hoping we can launch it by Wednesday or Thursday of next week. Now,
oh, that'll be nice.
remember there was 3 videos,
Oof.
5 audio.
How many gigs of
Oh,
files,
the
right?
videos themselves were uh, 20 gigs each because they were 2 hours long. And
I know.
we'll edit it down,
Wow.
and it'll still be probably an hour and 40 minutes. And so we might need to do
Two
uh,
parts.
Chem Max Roundtable Part 1, Part 2. But we didn't talk much about the auto show at all. I was kind of going through a little bit of that. And so,
Well, I think that maybe was the point. Just to talk about what's on their minds. I think
yeah,
that was the important thing rather than the auto show. We had our own recap, so
I'm excited to show it off. And also our Chem episode that we recorded inside the ET5, that should be
all
posted in
right.
the next couple of days as
Yeah,
well.
that was a
So
good talk about the experience.
my insomnia or my jet lag lay allowed me to be productive at 3 o'clock in the morning. So,
Yeah, and
uh,
so a few things from me is I checked out the new ES6 in the dealer. I had a test ride and drive in the 2025 G6, and I drove the L6 Max, the Smart Refresh Max. And I posted a video of 7 minute urban NOA. Boy, I am impressed. And having done this RT6 today, really, the only difference between a L6, a Li Auto L6 Max versus a Robotaxi is that you are responsible rather than the Robotaxi is
well, I think that's
responsible.
important. I
There's
mean, that's
no,
a
yeah, it is important, but other than that, there's not much difference. I mean, that's how incredible it is that things are in the assisted L2 plus
plus plus
driving space.
plus.
Yeah, and hence going back earlier, the Neo they showed some new features of this new world model where now you have the capability of automatically going through the ETC lanes, point to point, which is not available on the NOP Plus that we had on the ET5. But you know, by maybe I don't know, not sure if in July they'll have this OTA update, but that's where the competition is.
I'm looking forward. I Li Auto was one of the companies I didn't ignore them, but they were not a priority. There wasn't um,
Because
any new
where I
products from
live,
them. So
there's this mall, right? This Xiaomi Xiaozhen, and there's Tesla, there's Anvo, there's Neo, there's Li Auto, there's XPeng. Um, I just go there, go to the dealership, and say, I want a test drive, and put my consumer hat on. You know,
the the
and I'm
the
like,
Li
oh,
Auto
you don't
man,
have to tell me what the features are. I know.
the Li
you know,
Auto, I really like the interiors of the Li Auto. The fit and finish is really really good.
it
And
was the
I,
L6.
I,
I mean, for that price range.
and the
Yeah,
seats were more substantial, so your butt probably not hurting.
yeah, it was more
Maybe we get a
comfortable.
Li Auto, man, and drive around that for a few days.
Well, the auto it's not a pure EV
Right,
as
right,
some
right.
fans would
Well, I
say.
mean, well, we can take it as far as we
Still,
can.
it's
So,
still yeah.
so hey, there are some questions and comments.
Oh,
First of all,
good.
Jeffrey, hello. He says hi to us, so saying hi back to Jeffrey. He does. have a question. I'm going to let you answer it, Lei. Any opinion? Because you are much more active on Chinese social than I am. Any opinion on the continuous crashing by owners of the Su 7? It seems my entire WeChat feed is one crash after another, even causing owners to protest rising insurance costs.
That was the thing I was kind of alluding to. It's not one thing that's the backlash. It's multiple things happening at the same time, and that's why I said it's kind of Xiaomi's in the dark place. It, is it educational? Is it too much trustworthiness of the system? If we're talking about the Ultra, they did have this limiting OTA, right, where they kind of limited the speed or
Mm-hmm.
something, right? I remember that was pushed out to um, where I think some of these newer owners, EV owners, um, how do you respect being a driver of kind of an EV that if you're a completely new driver, a new owner of an EV, and you buy a Xiaomi, um, sometimes that could be the reason. Uh, but there does seem to be more and more negativity.
Well, the people are just piling on. Uh,
Yeah,
that's what I'm seeing. Um,
and yeah, uh,
and you can't give somebody something and then all of a sudden take it away. And um, but this is we're just seeing Xiaomi grow up in real time by the lessons that are being created from these challenges that um, are being put in front of them, and so they have to go
and
through
that
some of these things on their own in order to really have it be deeply understood amongst the team. So,
and that also shows the other side of the competition is the how tough the consumers can be and how they can become a kind of a force against you, almost, right? Of we're your fans, but we're
well,
we
that's the whole thing. It
demand,
goes
right?
both ways. It goes both
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
They can
But then
be
very tough on you. And that's what has
so
happened.
so that's kind of the momentum part of it because they can amplify the positive so much,
So can
but
they do
they
the
can
negative?
also amplify the negative in a significant way. And social media in China is much more ubiquitous amongst the young people, which are the consumers, which are the target market. In the United States, we have the TikToks, we have these other things, but they're not as ubiquitous as uh, not many. I won't say not many, because that's going to show my age. But people my age aren't on TikTok in the United States, really trying to message about branding. Whereas in China, if you're on Douyin, if you're on Xiaohongshu, then you're really really seeing a lot of news via these social media feeds. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Anything else?
SSJJ005 has a comment. The new end-to-end Neo World model that is going to be fully launched by June is pretty important, not only for Neo but the whole Chinese EV industry. Uh, yeah, I would agree with that. He
Yeah, I
also
mean,
writes,
it's these newer features of assisted driving. There was this what this show was this emergency pullover feature. They showed this rear collision monitoring feature where if the car senses a rear collision happening, they'll actually make the vehicles the braking of the vehicle to help you with the what's the word,
whiplash.
whiplash, right? These type of things are that again, Li Bin wants to show that we're committed to putting on these technology.
Effectively, just blanket statement that the company is very thoughtful on
Yeah.
launching new features and are very user focused in how they might
Mhm.
benefit or prevent the users from harm. Uh, and he or she also writes, I think not much people realize the significance of the Neo World model and the mass production which already has started for Shenji
Well,
NX9031.
well, I think it's significant, but Neo is not exclusive.
Right.
We're seeing Li Auto talk about this. This is another feature that Li Auto showed in the AI talk. Was you could literally it's called the driver 司机大模型, which means the driver large model, which means in an urban NOA or when an NOA is active, you can voice tell it where to go. Let's say, please make a U-turn at the upcoming traffic light, and it'll do it. Right? These are the things that the Liotta is doing. That's part of their model. And has its own model. XPeng has its own model, right? I'm sure Xiaomi will have, you know,
And we can talk about the Neo world model because he or she also writes, I get you two are frustrated with Neo's number, but really L60 is the only issue here. Neo is currently at over 40% in premium EV segment, 50% in premium SUV EV segment.
well, at the very beginning, they showed a great number of the renminbi 300,000 and above BEV. Neo has half the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So,
But
uh,
but unfortunately, if you did a heat map on that product, I would venture to guess 50% of that is in Shanghai.
well, hey, 100,000 units, right?
So
Out
right.
of how many? I don't know.
Yeah.
700,000 or more. So that's a
So
significant portion in Shanghai.
and I think they're right. We're not separating Neo and comparing them to the premium segment per se, but at the end of the day, they can't still be at 300 or 350,000 units in 2025. It's just their capital costs are much higher. They really need the 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 mass market Firefly and Envo to be successes. That's going to create a lot more flexibility for the Neo brand. Um, he or she has an opinion. I really think they messed up with how they launched the L60 separately to Neo. Very stupid decision. Neo took 5 years to build up their brand awareness, and yet Neo still lacks brand awareness versus Xiaomi, Huawei, and Tesla. I
No,
actually
I'm
think
not
that the
sure if I
brand
agree with
awareness
that.
is, yeah, I think the brand awareness is right there. So
I
I
think
think
just
you and I don't believe that. They thought Envo could do well without Neo's presence. It is a good decision to fire the CEO, and now they are trying to establish Envo by Neo. Now the L60 number has started to tick back up. Surprisingly, for the first time in last week, L60 outsold
what's
Zeekr's 7X, Luxseed R7, Xpeng G6, and Tesla Model Y, even though Model Y has their own reason for the low number last week. So
what was the term that you always use? Monday night quarterback or
Monday morning
what?
quarterbacking.
Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
right. I think that's
basically, now that means you see the results and then you come up with the reasons why it was, as opposed to like predicting what the problem is, right? So you
yeah,
analyze the
and
problem after the fact. So
that's the thing. I think another way to put it is building the plane while you fly it, right? Or um, I think
um,
that's what's happening for all of these brands,
oh yeah,
startups,
for
especially.
sure.
Right?
And remember, the market is evolving, so the market is very dynamic, so it's not static. There's new players, new products, new features, new technology, new innovation, and then add that to the fact that Neo is going to be in 25, 30 countries this year. Xpeng is going to be in over 40. BYD is already in 100 countries. And so the the changes that the management team have to take into consideration and the evolution of the sector as it matures, as they build awareness in other markets, it's a very, very complex animal that any great management team would have a challenge staying on top of. And so, to me, that's why it's still so impressive that BYD has been able to accomplish what they have. So, Lay, I'm moving over to LinkedIn. There's a couple comments here. Hello, we know this is from David Crozoli. We know China has an impressive automotive industry, EV, an important partner for the future. How to get in contact with top manufacturer? So he's just
Okay.
this is like business development, dude. Only thing I miss in Neo is Android Auto. That's from Adam Browaskowicz.
Speaking
And
of the CarPlay Ultra on the Aston Martin, right? That made
yeah,
some waves.
that was a social media post. That was a feature. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's like you buy a Aston Martin and you get the free Ultra CarPlay, right?
Oh, jeez. Okay. Rafael Galvao says hello from Brazil. Hey, Rafael. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening in. Now, that's all of the comments, Lay. And I know it's getting late for you.
I'm not too late.
So I'm your internet is faster. So congratulations. Gongxi on that.
It's
And then
94% uploaded. That means that the
it's
30
that Huawei
MB
router. It's that
perfect.
Huawei
Yeah,
router.
the body router.
So, anyways, everyone, thank you for joining us as always. I actually thought this was going to be like a 40-minute
It
episode.
never is. When
Yeah.
we
So, my apologies again for the technical difficulties that I had on my end, and appreciate your patience for waiting 10 minutes, 12 minutes, however long it took for me to get powered up. But we will see you all. You might
next
not be able to
yeah,
do the
well
show
next week
next week.
I'm on the road, so we might have to do Thursday night my time. I
Okay.
think it's the
So,
only time I have.
for those that are following on, please check our socials because I'll try to update everything, or we'll try to update everything on our timing, because we still plan on doing a live show, just not at 9 a.m. Eastern time on Friday next week. So stay tuned for the new timing, and it'll only hopefully be for this show or the next 2 weeks. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We will talk with you all next week.
Yep. Good night from my side. Bye bye.